Hey Eagles fans, this is your narrator bringing another update about our beloved team. Today we have a story that shows how unpredictable football can be. Let's get straight to the point with Kenyon Green. Remember that trade that caught everyone by surprise in July? The Philadelphia Eagles decided to trade our safety CJ Gardner-Johnson to the Houston Texans for offensive guard Kenyon Green. It was a move that got a lot of people talking, right? Well, everyone. The story took a twist no one expected. 2 months after that trade, Green's time with our team came to an end before it really even began. During the final roster cuts, the Eagles released Green, then quickly brought him back to the practice squad and later moved him to the active roster. But here comes the plot twist. After listing him as inactive for our season opener against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday, the organization announced on Saturday that Green would be released again. The situation gets even more interesting when we look at the details. Green suffered a wrist injury during the preseason, and here's the irony. On the same day he got hurt, Gardner-Johnson was also injured during a Texans practice. Yet Gardner-Johnson was already cleared to play in Week 1 for the Texans. Now, Eagles fans, here's a point that deserves our attention. With Landon Dickerson leaving Thursday's game because of a back injury, our offensive line became even tighter. Veteran Brett Toth stepped into the position, but our depth at guard is really limited. Since losing Mekhi Becton in free agency, we've been using Tyler Steen, who was previously a backup, as our starting right guard. It's a situation that shows how every piece of the team matters and how injuries can completely change the organization's plans. Now let's move on to a story that really shook the NFL's backstage and directly involves our beloved Philadelphia Eagles. We're talking about Micah Parsons, that all-pro edge rusher who was with the Cowboys and was recently traded to the Green Bay Packers. But here's the information that will leave you speechless. Our team made the biggest offer for Parsons. Jay Glazer of Fox Sports revealed the details of this negotiation on the pre-game show, and everyone, our organization really went all in. The Eagles offered 2 first-round picks, a third, a fifth, and other pieces that weren't fully specified. Some speculate it might even have included one of our defensive linemen. The whole situation started when Parsons requested a trade about a week after training camp began. But here's an interesting detail. Dallas had already decided to move him a week before his request. The Cowboys started exploring options but wanted to deal with a team from the AFC, not a rival in their own division. The problem was Dallas couldn't gain any traction with AFC teams. That's when our offer came into play, and even though it was the highest, the Cowboys simply refused to strengthen a direct NFC East rival. In the end, Green Bay had been interested from the start and kept its offer firm, with Kenny Clark being the key piece to seal the deal. Howie Roseman once again showed why he's considered one of the best general managers in the league. Our organization has 12 picks in the 2026 draft and was ready to use its 2026 and 2027 first-round selections in this trade. That's a lot of draft capital, but imagine Micah Parsons playing alongside Jalen Carter on our defensive line. It would be spectacular to see. Parsons even expressed interest in wearing our jersey, which would have made it even more special. But Dallas was too worried about making us stronger within the division, and that ultimately stopped the deal from happening. Even after missing out on Parsons, our organization kept working to improve the edge rusher position. Right after the Week 1 win over Dallas, we signed veteran Za'Darius Smith, showing we're still looking for more depth at this crucial spot. Now let's imagine together what it would be like to have Micah Parsons wearing our green and white jersey. It would be nothing short of revolutionary for our defense. First, let's talk about the immediate impact on the defensive line. We have Jalen Carter dominating the middle as a defensive tackle, constantly creating pressure in the quarterback's pocket. Now imagine adding Parsons attacking off the edges with his speed and refined technique. Opposing quarterbacks would have no escape. What makes Parsons special is his unique versatility. He can play both as an edge rusher and as a linebacker, giving defensive coordinator Vic Fangio incredible tactical flexibility. On one play, he's rushing off the edge. On the next, he's dropping into coverage over the middle. That adaptability is something few players in the league possess. Fangio could create completely revolutionary defensive schemes. Picture formations where Parsons starts lined up as a linebacker and then blitzes unexpectedly, or where he's set directly on the line for immediate pressure. The tactical possibilities would be practically endless. But the impact goes beyond just quarterback pressure. Parsons' presence would create a multiplying effect across our entire defense. With him commanding the attention of opposing offensive lines, our other players would have more freedom to make plays. Linebackers and defensive backs would have more time to cover receivers, and Carter would have even more opportunities to dominate inside. Think of opposing offensive coordinators trying to craft a game plan against a defense with Carter and Parsons together. How do you double-team two players at the same time? It's nearly impossible to neutralize both in one snap, forcing opponents to choose which threat to try to contain. Parsons would fit perfectly into the Eagles' system because he isn't just a pass rusher. He stops the run effectively, has decent coverage on short passes, and has an extremely high football IQ. That versatility aligns perfectly with the defensive philosophy Fangio has brought here. On third downs, picture Parsons and Carter attacking together while our defensive backs play tight coverage on receivers. It would be nearly impossible for opponents to convert in those crucial situations. There's also the psychological factor that can't be ignored. Opposing quarterbacks would constantly be looking over their shoulder, worried about where the next pressure was coming from. That anxiety leads to mistakes, hurried throws, and bad decisions. Things our defense could capitalize on. Combining young talent like Carter with the experience and versatility of Parsons would have created a unique synergy. Two players at the peak of their abilities complementing each other and elevating the entire defensive unit. Micah Parsons on the Eagles wouldn't just mean adding a great player to the roster. It would mean building a historic defense, capable of dominating entire games and defining seasons. The offer our organization made shows we understand the value of exceptional players and are willing to do what it takes to build a truly championship-caliber team. Looking at these two situations, we see a very clear pattern in Howie Roseman's philosophy and the leadership of the Eagles. Our organization isn't afraid to make risky moves when it sees an opportunity, but it also doesn't force situations that don't make sense in the long term. These moves reveal a mature and strategic organization. We have the flexibility to make adjustments when needed, as in Green's case, but we also have the vision and resources to pursue transformational players like Parsons. The offensive line remains a legitimate concern. With Landon Dickerson injured and our depth at guard limited, we need more solutions in that area. But the speed with which our organization acts when it identifies problems gives us confidence that we'll find the right answers. On the defensive side, even without Parsons, we have a unit that's evolving quickly. Jalen Carter is establishing himself as a dominant force, and adding Za'Darius Smith to the mix gives us more options for pressuring the quarterback. In conclusion, these moves show that we have an organization that knows exactly where it is and where it wants to go. Not every decision will be perfect, as we saw with Green, but the overall philosophy is correct. Identify needs, act quickly, make competitive offers for elite players, and have backup plans when things don't work out. Our competitive window is open. We have the resources to compete for the best players available, and, more importantly, we have leadership that isn't afraid to make tough decisions when necessary. That's exactly the kind of mindset that builds championship teams. The future remains bright here in Philadelphia, and these recent moves only confirm that we're on the right path toward major achievements. Now we want to hear from you. What do you think? Considering all these recent moves, from the attempts that didn't work out to the signings that strengthened our roster, do you believe our organization is making the right decisions to take us back to the Super Bowl? And even more importantly, based on what we've seen so far this season, which position do you think still needs more reinforcements to maximize our chances of winning another championship? Leave your opinions in the comments. Until next time, Eagles Nation.